humans, and welcome to episode 25 of Chef Mike Does Stuff. I, of course, am Chef Mike because it would be a little weird if somebody else was hosting a show that's called Chef Mike Does Stuff. Anyway, we are going to live our best Bundt life today. You into Bundt stuff? Do you like big bunts? I'm into all that. I got myself a brand new Bundt pan, never even used. Gonna be awesome, but we're gonna make a very simple vanilla Bundt cake and then a simple powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar little icing. Maybe I'll dust it with powdered sugar. Maybe I'll put a little bit of sprinkles on there. I don't know yet. I don't even remember the last time I made a Bundt cake, but we're gonna do it together. And guess what? Just like every other videos, if this comes out wrong, if it falls apart, if it doesn't look cool when it comes out, I'm gonna show it anyway. I mess up all the time. Maybe you do too. And if this is helping you in any way, realize that even some people who are well trained mess up sometimes. Well, if that makes you feel better, then that's what we're here for. But anyway, once again, thank you everybody for watching and sharing and talking about me and the Chef Mike Does Stuff program on the YouTubes. I very much appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, make some kind of TikTok video about Chef Mike Does Stuff to let everybody know I exist. And then, of course, if you are a brand or if you have a product or a piece of equipment you would like featured on Chef Mike Does Stuff, I made the sound effect even though I could put the sound effect in, so I don't know if maybe that time I'll do the sound effect. But chefmikedoesstuff@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can because I want to do cool, awesome stuff. So without further ado, before we begin too, yes, I'm using a stand mixer, and yes, I got a cool Bundt pan, and there's lots of different ways to do this, so I might talk through some of that while we're making it. So don't worry, even if you don't have a stand mixer, if you got a handheld mixer, if we really have to go old-fashioned and just use a whisk, you can totally do that too, but we'll go through that when the time comes. So let's go ahead and get a cooler camera shot, the overhead view. I don't have a cutting board because I'm not cutting anything and I'm doing baked goods, but we'll get over the counter over here and we'll go ahead and live our best Bundt life. First thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. That's one thing I always forget to do. Sometimes I forget to tell you, but that's a great start, so that way you can do your stuff a little quicker. Next, we are going to want to grease the Bundt pan. Like I said, this is a brand spanking new Bundt pan. I have an old beat up one that's kind of light and boring looking, and I saw this one when I was doing some research on Bundt stuff, and I thought this one was awesome. Then after I ordered it and I received it, they make a Bundt pan that looks like an octopus. They make a Bundt pan that looks like a castle. So you people out there, find the coolest Bundt pan and make an awesome Bundt creation for me. Make sure you tag Chef Mike Does Stuff on your post. Let me know it exists because I want to see what cool Bundt stuff you're doing. Now, old school traditional way, when I used to make Bundt pans regularly, I would take actual pieces of butter and make sure that every little bit of the interior of this is coated in butter, and then I'd sprinkle flour on it, and then I'd move the pan around to make sure every little bit has flour in it. But you probably don't want to do that. So what I'm doing, product shout out, doesn't have to be this brand, but they make a nonstick baking spray with flour in it. So you don't have to spend the time to do that. However, I will show you a little trick. So go ahead and you want to make sure that the interior, every little nook and cranny, you might even want to go ahead and put just a tiny bit up at the top, because if there's any spot in here that that you don't have oil or flour on, there's a potential that your Bundt cake may stick. And when we try to turn it upside down and make it look awesome, if it gets stuck, you're not going to have the perfect Bundt. And let's be honest, we are all looking for the perfect Bundt. So, like so. Now what I also do, so you could tell I've got spray everywhere. Comes out pretty quick, a little bit clumpy there. So what I do while I'm getting everything else ready is I turn it upside down. Any of the little spots that might have extra will kind of drip out a little bit. You could already see there's some on the pan there. But that way, everything is nice and evenly coated. I'm actually going to use this baking tray when we turn it upside down and glaze it. So I'm going to move this out of the way and let that Bundt pan do its thing right over there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, so we grease the Bundt pan in the mixer here. So let me get this out. If you do not have a stand mixer, you can go ahead and use your hand mixer, you know, like with the two little beaters on it. If you don't have that, you can use a whisk. You could try your hardest to use a whisk. It's a little more of a pain in the butt, but what are you gonna do? I mean, you gotta make do with what you got. So first thing we're gonna do is add our butter. Another note, because you should be watching this video before you make anything, is you want this butter to be room temperature. So in the morning, before you're living your best Bundt life, pull out the butter you need and just let it sit on the counter. You want it to be room temperature. So we're putting 3 sticks of butter. That's actually 2, and this is the 3rd. That's, I think it's 1.5 cups technically, but I like to go by stick, at least here in the US. We love measuring butter by stick form, an arbitrary number that was created by who knows who. Okay, butter in the bowl. I got butter on my fingers, so I'm going to just rinse that off. And in case you can't tell, I have a new microphone. It is wireless. Not the most expensive microphone. Hopefully it sounds good and I'm not, too loud or whatever. Next, we are going to add our sugar. So that is going to be 2 cups of sugar I'm going to add to this bowl. One of the things why I gravitate towards like traditional cooking as opposed to baking is I love just being able to throw stuff in a bowl. But stuff like baking, which is a little more exact science, because if you don't do it right, it might, not rise or whatever. A little more exact. So I'm not really going to play around with the ingredients in this recipe too much. You're going to want to kind of do it just as it is. All right. Be careful like what I just did. A little bit just shot out. But we're basically going to cream this. This is actually a very standard baking pastry process of really mixing your butter and sugar. We want each sugar molecule, each little granule of sugar to be coated in butter. The reason we do this is because we want a desired texture out of our finished product. So that is one of the great reasons why we do this. Now that everything's incorporated, you can give it a little bit more oomph to it. Okay. I'm gonna use a scraper. Where did I put my little cheapo? Use the scraper, scrape the bowl down just a little bit, get everything back in the middle, and I'm gonna turn this back on just for a quick little bit. Okay. Everything's back in the bowl. The other good thing about doing this with your hands is that you don't have to worry about scraping the bowl because you can just use your whisk or whatever you're using to do that. Where's the little, how about I put this right here? So that way maybe if I use it again. Here we go. That looks pretty good. All right, so we've got that creamed right there, basically light and fluffy. Now what we're gonna do, so I have 3 jumbo eggs, but if you have large eggs, you're gonna use 4. And what am I gonna do is I'm gonna keep mixing this. Okay, but I'm only gonna add 1 egg at a time. And you're gonna just let this mix until the egg is evenly incorporated. There is, in this step, not so bad, but later on, you can definitely overmix this, and you'll get a funkier texture in your cake. Looks like that egg is fully incorporated. Second egg in. What I love about the stand mixer is I can just do other things, so that's great. Like, I could walk really far away because I got a wireless microphone. Nice. I have a bad habit of lifting this bowl so that the whisk does like a little better, but I don't think you're supposed to do that. Last egg in. That goes in the sink. Let's see. Yeah, we're just about done there. The next thing I'm going to do is add 1 tablespoon of vanilla. Ooh, that's not all the way mixed. Hold on. Hold up here. Remember that rubber scraper I kept conveniently on the side here? Boom! Strategery. Once again, the order we're adding ingredients, the way that we're making sure it's mixed appropriately before adding the next egg, everything we're doing is to really get a desired texture out of our cake. We want a nice rise. We want everything to be very evenly incorporated. So that is why we're doing all these steps when making this Bundt. Okay. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. You can use whole vanilla bean, the stuff in the middle. You could flavor with almond extract. You want to make this cake a different flavor, now is a great time to add those like liquid flavors or anything, colors, mint, whatever you want to do to get that flavor in the Bundt. Okay, awesome. We're like half done already. I was thinking about like cutting and coming back because it's just going to be you looking at nothing over here while I talk. But you know what? That's what we're doing. We're doing this together. So now, in a large bowl. That looks pretty large. I have a bigger one, but you know what? We're going to chance it, and I'm going to go with this one. We are going to whisk together 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Yes, I said whisk, and I will tell you why in a minute. Okay. 6 tablespoons of cornstarch. I've got right here. I pre-weighed almost everything this time just to make life a little easier. 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now, why the heck do recipes call for kosher salt or large eggs? Well, the main reason is for standardization. If you use kosher salt is supposed to be a specific size and shape so that when you measure it with a teaspoon or tablespoon, it will be accurate every time. As an example, if you did a tablespoon of kosher salt versus a tablespoon of a really fine ground salt, if you put both of those on a scale, you would find that the one that is with the fine salt weighs more. You would actually be adding more salt to this than what was needed. Just like with eggs, if you call for large eggs, and like I did, I use jumbo because I know that's just what I have, but large eggs are smaller. So I only use 3 jumbo, but you would normally use 4 large. That is why when they specifically call out ingredients, especially for baking and pastry, you might want to go ahead and try to use the exact thing, unless you want to think ahead of time like, oh, I already got fine salt, so I'm going to put in a little bit less. You do you. That's none of my business. The other thing, why are we whisking this together? Well, with flour, as soon as this hits moisture, it's going to start, hydrating. It's going to start mixing. And if this is not evenly mixed, when you put it in there and mix it, it's not going to be evenly mixed. We want the cornstarch. We want the salt. We want the baking powder to be evenly mixed and incorporated throughout the cake. Because let's say if all the cornstarch and all the baking powder, only a little bit more ends up on one side, well, that side is going to raise a little more than some other side. So we're really trying to do this just to be consistent. But hey, you know what the best part is? Where are you at? Hi. The best part is if you're cooking for yourself at home, who cares? Right? If it's a little bit lopsided, I don't care. Put some glaze on. You think it's not going to be delicious? We're not cooking at the Michelin star restaurant. We're cooking for yourself and your family. So that's why we're doing it. And like I said before, quite possibly this Bundt is not going to turn out for your pal here. And if it doesn't, I'm going to show you anyway because that's how we roll. Because we're a team. All right. Next thing we're going to do. You're going to add, keep it kind of slow. And look, I got this handy dandy little thing right here. So that when I dump the flour in, it doesn't get everywhere. That's awesome. Let me get a spoon. Okay. We're going to add half of this. Now that I got the guard on. We're going to add half of this now. we're back. The downside, I got to mute. I should probably turn my phone's receiving calls off because I just got a call and it cut my recording. So I added half the flour. I don't even remember. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. I added half the flour and I mixed it till just the flour was just about incorporated. I commented that, yes, there's flour on the side of the bowl. Don't worry about that right now. We'll deal with that later. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1 cup of whole milk. Okay. And once again, just until it's incorporated. Like you see, it looks a little chunky right there, so let it go for, you know, maybe 20, 30 seconds. At this point, you could even do it a little higher. Okay. Now we're going to add the rest of our flour. Yeah, I'll keep it going. Why did I even bother turning it off? That was silly. The rest of the flour goes in. Once again, we are just doing this until the flour is evenly dispersed and incorporated. You don't want to mix the heck out of this or your cake is not going to be light and fluffy and airy. It's going to be dense. It's going to get a little more like bread texture, overworked gluten in the flour. So don't do that. Boom, just like that, easy peasy. Yeah, and now we're gonna get our Bundt pan back. Yes, and I will show you. If you remember, we had all those like grease spots in there. Well, they're all nice and even. Everything looks nice and shiny, coated with fat. Beautiful. Okay, now. We're going to take this off. We're going to take this off. You see how you got a little bit of that flour and stuff on the side of the bowl? Just grab this and just kind of mix it. Just like that. All right? Awesome. So this is ready to rock. Get off of my beater, you. Okay. Oh, here's the other thing I was going to... Ooh. I got some on my fingers. There's raw egg in here. So it is not recommended that you eat the raw dough, the raw batter, but you do you. None of my business. Here's a trick. First thing we're going to do before we start filling this, I don't even need to do that on the pan. That's what we're going to do with that pan later. Okay. This is just going to reduce a little bit of noise. But what we're going to do, we've got our Bundt cake batter. Okay. I'm not just going to dump all of it in right away. Okay. You're going to be like, wow, why is he doing this? This does not look very good. Oh, just you wait. It is very important. Okay, so we got a little base here. Here's the deal. Oh, my wife downstairs working is going to yell at me. What we're doing is removing those air pockets from the inside. We're making sure all the little grooves have Bundt batter in it. Very important. Because this will also help us get those nice peaks and valleys. This pan has a lot of little crevices and corners. So this should help. Now you could go ahead, add yourself some more. Bloop. Bloop. We are going to do the same thing where we tap it down. Just to make sure that it's nice and even. Beautiful. Beautiful. Cakes rise. I don't know if you know that. So if your recipe or your Bundt pan is completely filled, you're doing something wrong because it's going to bake out. If it does bake out, that's cool because in the end, we're going to cut it nice and flat anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, jiggle it. Jiggle that Bundt for me. If you could just take your Bundt and just jiggle it. I mean, like slap it on the side sometimes helps. Just like that. Sometimes you got to slap the Bundt. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And then, this is a trick. I forget what, I just read it somewhere. But because of how, the Bundt cake rises, so we want to kind of smooth the top out a little bit so it's a little more even. But what you're going to want to do is when you're smoothing it out, keep a little bit of a ridge on the outside, okay? Because a lot of time the cake is going to rise and in the middle is going to be tallest. So this way, if you get a little head start on the edge, it's actually going to rise a little more evenly when it's baking in the oven. Don't do that. Perfect. That's it. Our Bundt, our beautiful Bundt is ready to go into the oven. Now, I'm going to cook it on a pan because inevitably, if I didn't put it in a pan, when it rises, it's going to go all over my oven. And I'm going to cook this for about 55 minutes. What I'm going to do is use a toothpick and stick a toothpick pretty far right down in the middle, take it out. If it's warm and clean, we're probably good. But we'll see what happens in 55 minutes. Let's all cross our fingers and hope this amazing Bundt turns out awesome. So I will see you in a little bit. It's actually been 65 minutes. So I put a toothpick in, pulled it out. If there's still like raw cake batter in there, then you're going to want to let it cook a little longer. Magic number is you let this rest for 10 minutes. Okay? After 10 minutes, it's time to see how we did. First thing I'm going to do, because I want a nice level cake. Okay, very carefully. Flatten this out a little bit. So that way when I flip it over and we're icing it and all that fun stuff, it'll look awesome. You now also have a little extra cake to eat, so that works out great. It does look, it actually looks a little raw. I could have, not raw, I could have definitely kept it in the oven a little longer. I think maybe a few more minutes, but that's okay. It's too late now. I already cut it. So now, just slap that Bundt just a little bit. Just give it a little slapperino. Help loosen it a little bit. Okay, now, whoa, we put our grate here. Okay, and let's hope this comes out. Oh, that Bundt stuff is looking good! Ha ha! That's a magical Bundt. Look at that. That's going to be so good. Now, let's see if I can... As you can see, it's not perfectly flat on the bottom. You could go ahead and fix that or just leave it like I'm going to do because I don't care that much. So now I'm going to probably let this cool for an hour or so before we do some icing shenanigans. And then I'm going to eat some cake. All right. So this Bundt turned out pretty nice. This is a nice looking Bundt. Big. Came out real easy. It's awesome. It is the slightest, because I've been eating the top that we cut off because we turned it upside down. Just like it could have been like 3 more minutes, it would have been perfect, I think. There was just like a little bit of spot that was, it's cooked, but it's still got that like raw texture, which I like, so I ain't worried about it, but whatever. The other thing, I put this on a rack. Normally, if it's very flat on the bottom, you could put it on a bowl or something, so it will elevate it to make sure that when you're doing any kind of design, it doesn't like pool up on the bottom. But because For whatever reason, maybe I needed a little more batter. It naturally, even though I cut it flat, naturally has like this little raise to it. So if I am letting things cascade off of it, which we're going to do our little powdered sugar glaze, it's going to look awesome. And I'll still be able to move it, and it'll look nice, whatever we're doing. So, do I need a bigger bowl? I think I do, because that's, you know, I got to tell you something. I am recording this, is it the 6th today? And the news with everything's going on. It's tough, man. It's tough people. And I don't have any answers. I'm not knowledgeable enough in anything to really give an opinion. But let's just try to keep on keeping on and be good people. You know, that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do for the next 20 or 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, is step out of reality, because once I'm done filming this, I don't know when I'm going to post it or whatever. We'll see if I get lazy, but I'm going to go back to keeping up with what's going on in real life. So until then, it's Bundt life right now. Like I said, we got this Bundt here. I've got 2.5 cups of powdered sugar. Go into a bowl. I've got 5 tablespoons of milk. This is whole milk. I'm going to whisk that together. At first, it seems like there's not a lot of liquid, but as you keep mixing it, the glaze then starts to form. Beautiful. And this is what we're going to glaze over. I might thin it out just a little bit more. No, that should work. And then I also have, for a little flavor, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Because I always, on all my sweets, I always actually do add just a little bit of salt, because it just brings out flavor. Just like it functions when you're putting it on a steak. It makes a steak taste delicious. Here we go. Okay, what I'm going to try to do is glaze in between the lines. Let's see how we do here. And for no other reason, I think it'll look cool. That's, you know, obviously most important. Maybe I can pour it. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. Come on, pouring skills. Here we go. Too fast. Too fast. Oh, yeah. Now you guys have to sit here and watch me glaze in between these layers. Now I gotta go up and down motion. Oh boy. Now, left and right. This ain't so hard. You guys could do it. And so what if you put a whole bunch on it? That's cool. I'm gonna do around the middle so it goes down the middle. Maybe do a little bit of this on the top, just so that it like gets a little bit glazy. Just a little bit glazy. Look at that. And I'm just using the bulb, this spur of the moment. Let me look on the camera. Over here needs. You know what? How about we just do this? Yeah, I spent all that time. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of glaze on it and let it do its thing, because this cake already looks so awesome. I think I made the right choice, because look at how cool it looks now. So instead of wasting a whole bunch of time, you know, my mind was in other places. You know, that's what happens. But instead of wasting a whole bunch of time, just go ahead and dump it all over the top, because it will naturally cascade down all the little, you know, sides there and look awesome. You're going to want to let this sit for, you know, you can let it sit out. It is going to harden and dry up a little bit, and then you'll be able to move it and do whatever else the heck you want with it. Here is our cake. Bundt life. Should I eat it now? We'll see here. This is a piece of the cake. What did I just do? Here we go. See, so I'm eating the cake if I just want it to set, and then I want to take pictures, but I am eating the cake with the frosting. That's going to be real good. Super easy. You can do it. Get cool Bundt pans. Make cool flavored Bundt cakes. Top it with cool stuff. Take your time and drizzle it real nice, or just, toss it all over the top, whatever you want to do. If you like what you see, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. If you're a brand or you have a product or a piece of equipment you want me to use, chefmikedoesstuff@gmail.com. You also, if you want me appearances, all that voiceover, acting, all that stuff, give me a holler. But most importantly, just be good people out there with everything that's going on. I don't know what to think about all this. This is tough stuff, but I have to stay positive no matter what. I know it's the hardest thing to do, and at a certain point it's like you can't stay positive anymore because it's just a downward spiral of negative things, but it's a mental state. You just have to, I guess you have to practice. Some people just can't do it. I completely understand. I'm just a relatively positive person, so I'm going to think positive. Make sure to subscribe. I don't know if my little rant right there is actually going to assist you in subscribing to my content, but normally it's a little more lighthearted, I promise. Subscribe, because you are not going to want to miss when Chef Mike does stuff. Okay, bye! And do all the best hashtag Bundt, like Bundt stuff, Bundt life, all those. Use the word Bundt as much as you can in any of the content you post with Bundts in it.